What is up, everyone? It's Quinn here, and in today's video I'm going to be going through my last set of fantasy football sleepers. So I've already gone through the running backs, wide receivers, and quarterbacks. Today we're going to be wrapping it up by talking about three of my must-draft sleeper tight ends. These are going to be players that are going outside the top 12 at their position, so technically these guys would be considered tight end twos, and I'm using a 4-for-4 ADP to kind of gauge that. Pretty much they just combine like a bunch of different platforms. They finally have like their ADP kind of fine-tuned, like all the platforms are in there. Just 4for4.com, you should be able to find it. It's free. So that's the ADP that I'm using here. If you guys enjoyed the video, do me a huge favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's just jump right into it. And my first sleeper tight end is going to be Dalton Kincaid. According to 4for4 ADP, he's going off the board as the tight end 15. And I understand what the red flag is here for Kincaid. It's that he is a rookie tight end, and there's just no doubt that the track record for rookie tight ends has not been good. On this graphic, you can see all the first-round tight ends since 2017, and there really has not been a lot of success. So we had Kincaid this year. Obviously, we don't know, how he does. But then we had Kyle Pitts in 2021. He was picked fourth, averaged 10.4 PPR points per game as a rookie. Finished 11th, which if we remember back to that season, that was pretty disappointing for Kyle Pitts, but that was still the second best finish that we've had since 2017. We had TJ Hawkinson finished 24th in point per game, Noah Fant at 23rd, Hayden Hurst at 45th, OJ Howard at 17th. So we had a decent stretch there of just unusable fantasy production. None of those guys got above 8 PPR points per game. We did have Evan Ingram in 2017, who was picked 23rd in the first round, averaged 11.6 points per game. That was the best mark here. He was fourth amongst tight ends in points per game. So that's kind of like the bright spot here. And then we had David Njoku in 2017, 28th in PPR points per game. The thing with Dalton Kincaid is that I'm not actually betting on him to be used as an inline tight end. If I thought he was going to be an inline tight end, I would not, be interested in him at all. I think the Bills went out. They needed an offensive weapon, but they already had a solid inline tight end in Dawson Knox. He is still on the roster. We saw Dalton Kincaid thrive in college playing on the outside. It's not like Dalton Kincaid was, just locked onto the offensive line in college. He played all over. He played in the slot. He played out wide. That's really where he kind of excelled. He's able to win at all three levels of the field. And you look at this Bills roster, behind Stephon Diggs, and I guess you could say Gabe Davis, like the Bills have pretty much nothing at the wide receiver position. Their current two slot wide receivers are Trent Sherfield and Khalil Shakir. I like Shakir, but day 3 wide receiver pick. Didn't really do a ton as a rookie. I don't think the Bills are overly excited to get those guys on the field. So I do think Kincaid has a legit shot of seeing work as more of like a wide receiver as opposed to a tight end. I think the Bills can run a lot of 2 tight end sets with Dalton Kincaid more as a wide receiver and then Dawson Knox in line. And you notice that the 2 tight ends that finished as tight end ones as rookies, Kyle Pitts and Evan Ingram, neither of those guys were locked into an inline role. Both of them were used as wide receivers, at least for like a decent chunk of their routes. I think if the Bills went out and drafted a first-round wide receiver, everyone would be all over them for fantasy football. And so there's no guarantee that Dalton Kincaid is used how I'm expecting. But at like the tight end 15 price, if we're throwing darts at a late-round tight end, you punt the position, you want a player who could have a little bit of upside, I do think Kincaid could potentially be that guy. Now, the next tight end is actually going right after Dalton Kincaid in drafts, and that is going to be Tyler Higbee. He's currently being drafted as the tight end 16, and from a point per game perspective last year, Tyler Higbee was a high-end tight end 2, finished as the tight end 15 in points per game, but with normal touchdown production, Higbee could have easily slotted in as like a back-end tight end 1. He was 4th in targets and target share. He was 6th in target rate. The problem is he only scored 3 touchdowns in 17 games, so that volume didn't really carry him because he just, pretty much completely flopped in the touchdown department. But in the games where Matthew Stafford was healthy and Higbee was playing with him, he averaged 7.2 targets per game. That would have been 4th over the entire season behind Travis Kelce, TJ Hawkinson, and Mark Andrews. So I guess pretty elite company to be in there with in terms of like the volume you're commanding. The Rams are still very thin at the wide receiver position and just their weapons in general. Like behind Kupp, their wide receiver 2 and 3 are Van Jefferson and Ben Skoranek. And then behind Higbee, like their tight ends essentially have 0 NFL production. there are 5 other tight ends on the roster. Those 5 players combined for 9 total NFL receptions. So Higbee already went out in 2022. He proved he could command targets. The Rams are in desperate need of someone who can command targets behind Cooper Kupp. And he's got pretty much zero competition at the tight end position and the other wide receivers. I think if he gets a little luckier in the touchdown department, he could end up turning this wide receiver 16 price tag into like a mid-tier tight end 1 finish. I don't think he has any sort of like elite upside. Like, I don't think you're getting that out of Tyler Higbee, but we know like mid-tier tight end 1s, they're all kind of clumped together. I do think Tyler Higbee could finish in that tier, and you're going to end up getting him 3, 4, 5, like 6 rounds later than the other tight ends that are probably going to end up as mid-tier options. Now, shifting into my third and final sleeper, it is going to be Sam LaPorta. He's being drafted as the tight end 19, and I am going to be going back to the well here on rookie tight ends. I do think this is more of like a flyer. Definitely more of a long shot than Dalton Kincaid, but LaPorta has received really impressive reports out of training camp. He was the 3rd pick of the 2nd round to the Detroit Lions. I think he went a lot earlier than some people were expecting. Went ahead of Michael Mayer, which I think was shocking to a lot of people, including myself. But we know he has the strong draft capital. LaPorta was Iowa's leading pass catcher in both 2021 and 2022. He's stepping into a wide open tight end room. And after like the training camp reports I've been seeing, it definitely seems like he's on track to be the week 1 starter. With Jamison Williams suspended to start off the season, the Lions are honestly pretty thin on weapons behind Amon-Ra St. Brown. We look back to last year, obviously the Lions started off the season with TJ Hawkinson. They moved him, I think, close to the trade deadline. And once they traded Hawkinson, they really didn't have like a starting level NFL tight end to be like consistently involved in their offense. Like they were rolling out Brock Wright and Shane Zylstra. But even when they were rolling those dudes out, in the 10 games where Hawkinson was gone, those 2 combined for 8 touchdowns. So they do get him involved, especially in the red zone. I think LaPorta can come in. If he can establish himself as the clear number 1, I think he's going to have some touchdown upside. And I also just think he's going to rack up way more volume than guys like Brock Wright and Shane Zylstra did. Obviously, this is more of a long shot. I'm more confident in Kincaid and Tyler Higbee. But, maybe you're in a super deep league, a ton of teams, or maybe LaPorta is just a guy you want to keep your eye on waivers, see what kind of route participation he's getting early on in the season, and then maybe he's a guy you play in like favorable matchups where you're kind of banking for a touchdown. Because once we get to like those fringe tight end ones, a lot of the times the ones that, kind of get a successful week are just going to be the guys who get into the end zone. So LaPorta could kind of turn into that down the stretch. But those are going to be my 3 later round tight end sleepers: Dalton Kincaid, Tyler Higbee, and Sam LaPorta. Let me know what you guys are thinking about these players. Do you have someone out there that you're targeting as a later round guy? I know there are some potential interesting options. I know a lot of people like Chigo Okonkwo. Some people might be in on Cole Kmet. I think those are also fair sleeper options. But let me know what you guys are thinking. Thank you all for stopping by, and I will see you in the next one.